I wish I could have half of that, but this doesn't look vegan, and I'm trying to be vegan.
You're a vegan?
It's really hard because I don't know if I told you I'm from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And cheese was like one of my favorite things.
See, how that looks pretty good. That's a little rare, medium rare.
Yeah.
Is
got
this
some nice dead animal, dead cow hanging on your fork?
Is this bad that I'm eating meat?
If you go hunting, that's a totally different story, right? The blood's on your hands. Right now, you're kind of just enjoying the benefit, and the blood's on someone else's hands, and that's not very fair.
What if they want to hunt meat, or what if they want to raise cattle?
Oh, totally. But the idea of killing and taking a life, that we should really deeply consider what that means for us as human beings. You know, people have said you should judge a society by how it treats their animals. And we, you know, it'd be great if we had universal health care for our animals.
Universal health care for animals, that could be expensive.
We can afford it, look.
Really? Because we're $20 trillion in debt.
Call the cops on this campus if someone hurts your feelings? If someone hurts your feelings, and that woman at Yale yelling at the professor for saying, I think Halloween costumes should be allowed and we shouldn't be censoring them. How do you sleep at night? I'm going to leave. Good, go. I mean, I look at that. You tell me, Nomiki, because you're going to defend these people.
Of course.
I look at that and say, I can't wait for my kids to get out there in the world against these people. I can't wait. Well, they're going to kick some. That's my reaction. Am I wrong?
Well, okay, to be fair, these are not administration, these are students. These are 20-year-olds who are reacting, and it's a very racially charged environment. You know, words matter. And so when that letter was sent on behalf of an administration official, somebody who's supposed to represent the students, to create, you look at the documents that Yale sends out, the application documents, and it's all about having an inclusive community.
This guy was defending Halloween.
Well, he wasn't defending Halloween. He was defending being offensive to a community of people that are being marginalized. I mean, 7% of the Yale...
He was saying if you want to go as Tatiana, the frog princess, you should be allowed to.
No. He was acknowledging that someone who shows up in blackface, it's okay, it's a joke.
And you think that should be banned? You should, Halloween, that should be banned. And what if you want a guy who wants to dress like a girl? Should he be banned?
Listen, there are the stereotypes. There's plenty of stereotypes that we have changed over time. Things that would now be totally unacceptable. We had this debate about things
gender expression would be offensive if you want. So a guy dressed up as a female nurse.
That's not for white people to determine. That's not. These things are not for the people who are doing it to determine. It is for those who feel hurt. If you feel hurt,
that's fantastic. I hope you have young kids like just exactly my kid's age. Ben, you take it. I understand the offense. I understand you go to the race place and all that, what happened to swastika. But you can't wear the Halloween costume you want unless no one finds it offensive.
Well, now the selectively offended get to run the rest of the country. I mean, this is what we are creating. We are creating a society of panty-waist fascists. What we are creating is a group of people who are oversensitive to everything and then are willing to call the cops as soon as they are offended. It's actually incredible, and it's a violation of the First Amendment, which you saw with a professor from the Mass Communications Department at Missouri telling reporters that they have no right to be there, and at Yale you have students shouting people down. If this is the climate that we're supposed to create, if this is supposed to create openness and tolerance on the campus, I'm missing the openness and tolerance in let's call the police if I'm mildly offended because my feelings have been hurt. I mean, this is creating a country of crazy people. How can you watch this and not go crazy and think that everyone who's involved in it is crazy in the first place?
How about that woman from the communications department, Nomiki?
Listen,
shutting down the student reporters from filming the protests she was promoting. Guess how you promote them? Put them on TV.
I do agree with that. And so, Ben, I read your article today, and I was shocked by the language you used. You were saying that it's time for the right
call the police
to
right now.
fight. Yeah. No, but you read his column.
Evidence. All this is screaming and feelings. How about like a shred of evidence, even for the incidents that actually happened at Missouri that drove this? Really? Where was the police report exactly when it came to, for example, the first N-word incident that led all of this? There was no police report on any of that. In the second incident at the N-word at the University of Missouri, the administration investigated, and the kid's under investigation. In the third incident with the cop car,
let me just ask you this, because we're short on time. You tell me, Nomiki, whether we are training these kids kids to be little cupcakes who never have to encounter anything offensive. Assuming everything you said is offensive, they never have to encounter it because they can call the cops or they can get their administrators fired, or whether it's better to educate them that there are offensive things in life, there are insulting things in life, there are people who will say very incorrect or impolite things about you, politically incorrect things about you, very publicly and in a way that you might feel very offended by, and you have to deal with that in life.
Good try. You have to bifurcate it. Did she deserve the honor? Probably not. Is she brave? Of course she's brave. All those years invested as this sports legend. To come out transgender is horribly difficult. It is the most difficult thing you can do. I've been overseas. I've flown helicopter missions, surveillance missions. I've been shot, stabbed. Being brave is being yourself. And being transgender is about the bravest thing you can do. Did she deserve the award? Yes.
Why are we mainstreaming delusion?
It's not delusion.
Why would you call it delusion?
Because Bruce Caitlyn Jenner, I'll call him Caitlyn Jenner.
No,
because
it's her. You're not being polite to the pronouns.
Because
disrespectful.
Okay, forget about the disrespect. Facts don't care about your feelings. It turns out that every chromosome, every cell in Caitlyn Jenner's body is male, with the exception of some of his sperm cells. It turns out that his brain structure is male. It turns out that he still has all of his male appendages. How he feels on the inside is irrelevant to the question of his biological sex.
I don't agree with that. I'm not on that train. I'm not on that train. She wants to be called she. I'm going to call her she. I just have a problem with the message and the messenger.
But in terms of the science behind gender dysphoria, you're very familiar with that, Zoe.
Very familiar.
It's not about the chromosome. Excuse me, the chromosomes within our
both know
nuclei. Yeah, go ahead.
Chromosomes don't necessarily mean you're male or female.
Gender.
With gender
identity. Go ahead. No, so
especially, but even so, you have a thing like Klinefelter's syndrome. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you actually like to discuss the genetics? Or
well, no,
what
no.
are your genetics?
Zoe, I'd stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
No, I know. Well, but wait. To be fair, but to be fair, you're actually being kind of rude. And that's not fair.
I'm sorry, it's not rude to say that someone who is biologically a male is a male. Someone who is biologically male is a male.
Yes. Look, there's different ways to look at the data, but the big picture here is women do earn less in America because they choose to. They would rather go to their daughter's piano recital than stay all night at work working on a proposal.
What?
So they end up earning less. They're less ambitious, and I think this is sort of God's way. This is nature's way of saying women should be at home with the kids. They're happier there.
I hope that your viewers do not take you, sir, seriously.
There's a great book you should read. It's called Why Men Earn More, and it's all about women choosing to put family over work, and that's why they earn less.
Having a choice does not mean that you're less ambitious, and your comments are absolutely deplorable. Sean, I would like
less ambitious in the workforce.
I would like you to address it. You're a father. You have a daughter.
Heroes. If you were a real feminist, you would support housewives and see them as the heroes and women who work wasting their time.
You said that women are less ambitious.
Women are less ambitious.
You have also said that women are better suited in the home.
Yes,
You've also said that, let's see, that women are emotional and women shouldn't run for public office. All of these things that just
I never said women shouldn't run for public office.
Yes, you have. You've said that
If we're talking
before.
about 50% of the population, generally out of this 250 million people or 150 million people, most women are happier at home. They are pretending that they like working, and they're not making money because they don't stay all night at the office. They don't go the extra mile. They don't work all weekend. You're making a mistake. You would be much happier at home with a husband and children.
Oh, boy. Oh,
I mean, I'm literally shaking.
You just said you're single. You don't have a boyfriend. You're
That's
you're celibate.
my choice.
Yeah, look, you're miserable. You would be so much happier with kids around you tonight. Imagine coming home, mommy's home.
You know what, Gavin? You're not funny. You're not what you do not do anything.
I'm trying to make you happy.
You do not do anything for the better. Sean, this isn't funny.
Feminism has made women miserable. Women were much happier when housewives were glorified.
Guess what? I had a choice to be married, and I chose not to. I have a choice to have kids.
You made a mistake.
We'll give you the last word. Go ahead.
I think that your guest here is doing a disservice to all of the viewers and doing a disservice to America by saying that women, that I need to be married, that I would be happier at home. You're what, miserably married? Just because
No, I'm
just
ecstatic.
having a
I'm
ring
trying
on.
to share my joy. You should see my little
Not
two-year-old.
everybody
He's a
has the
gift.
same life pattern as you.
I know,
okay?
it's the fall
and not
of our
everybody
race.
wants to
It's
marry
the death
somebody
of the
in a
world.
bootleg seersucker suit
the end of
and go home to that.
civilization.
I don't want to go home to that.
There it was. There I was thinking it was just me that had a problem, but it turns out it's the air conditioning that's sexist.
I know. So many women in our office have the exact same problem. You know, we just sit there absolutely freezing at our desks trying to type. You can probably tell I've got a cold right now, which I blame all on the AC. And so it's just so actually quite nice to see this research. It's just such a relief to know that there's actually proof that this is happening, that women, you know, do feel the cold more than men, and that the AC in offices is normally regulated more for a male's temperature than a woman's.
And it's an explanation for these constant battles you'll see in offices right across the country between the sexes for control of that office thermostat.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, one of the biggest problems is that often in offices, it is men who control temperatures. You know, that's just something I've found anecdotally. And because majority of the men in offices seem to be absolutely fine with the temperatures, you know, women kind of just sit there on the corner feeling absolutely frozen. And, you know, often, like, actually nothing's being done to help them. And, you know, it might sound like a bit of a silly, light-hearted issue, but actually it's really uncomfortable being freezing at your desk every day. Take it from me.
No, I know I experience the same, because what I've often found is you go in on a really hot summer's day, you're wearing summer clothes, you go into an office and it's absolutely freezing. I think even for some men it must be too cold. I don't understand why air conditioning is often so cold. So what you have to do is then take a jumper in with you and put that jumper on in order to be able to function.
Yeah, honestly, I think so many women listening now are going to just be nodding their heads thinking, yes, that is exactly my reality. You know, we joke at work that we actually can't dress fashionably anymore for summer because you actually just can't go in sandals, you can't go in a summer dress.
I think women actually don't want equal treatment. They couldn't handle it if they got it, quite a number of them. It's a tough world out there. What a lot of women are actually asking for, and you can look aghast at this, is special treatment. If you look at all female shortlists for positions, is that equal treatment or is that special treatment? I think what women need to realise is that you have to toughen up. We can't ask for equal pay. You have to be paid on performance.
Game over. Do you think a trans woman is a real woman?
I don't really like the way those questions are formulated. You know, I don't know what that means. What do you mean a real woman?
Well, I'm asking you, in your mind, you know, it depends what you think a real woman is, but do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant.
My idea of the patriarchy is a system of male dominance of society.
Yeah, but that's not my sense of the patriarchy.
So what's yours?
Well, in what sense is our society male-dominated?
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of capital is owned by men. Women do more unpaid labour.
A very tiny proportion of men, and a huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. It's like, where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
But I could say equally well that most rape victims are women. You know, terrible things happen to people of both sexes.
And you could say that with perfect utility, but that doesn't provide any evidence for the existence of a male-dominated patriarchy. This whole patriarchy thing, I think you have no idea how pernicious and dangerous it is.
Well, no, I don't. I really don't. Go on.
Throughout history have fundamentally cooperated to push back against the absolute catastrophe of existence. A terrible death rate, the probability of chronic starvation, early death, disease, the difficulty of raising children, with all the death that was associated with that, and to look backwards in time and say, well, basically what happened was men took the upper hand and persecuted women, in this tyrannical patriarchy is it's absolutely dreadful misreading of history. It's a terrible thing to teach young women, and it's a horrible thing to inflict upon men.
We need to be speaking about what the root of racism, what the root of sexism is. And sexism doesn't come from women. So of course it's caused by men. This is a social construct.
You don't think women can be sexist?
I don't think that women can enforce misogyny.
What a load of nonsense.
No, because it's all...
You don't think any women can be sexist?
Women don't uphold the patriarchy, Piers. That is not the case. The patriarchy.
What's that?
You don't know what the patriarchy is.
I do, but explain it.
The patriarchy is basically a structure that puts men at the top of power. So... It's not women that enforce the patriarchy. Women don't have anything to...
The 5 most powerful people in this country currently are women. How does that sit with your patriarchy?